Well, open the door. That's easy enough. I'm very original.
So when I think of open the door, or not open the door. When I think of the word open, I think of, like,
Open your heart.
something like that,
Expand. Yeah, like
um, or maybe even something of that nature, like to open.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, like you always do the open your heart, thing.
yeah, there you go. Um, but in what? So what else can you open?
Hmm.
You can open your breath, right?
Your breath. Yeah. Open your mind. You always say
Well, let's
that.
let's stick with breath for a second here. So, because this is something in, breath is a really powerful aspect of all the healing as well. So if we can combine those two things, so let's think about the previous state to opening your breath, which would be to have your breath closed. So the breath is contained. It's inside.
Constricted. Yeah.
It's constricted. Yes, beautiful. Right. So I'm coming from a constriction or a containment, and then
Expansion.
open the breath.
Mm.
Right. So
So it goes to the
any kind of,
expansion.
like this one. Um,
Yeah. Mm. Oh, it's definitely open there. Yeah, with the exhale. Yeah. So the tiger pounces would be opening the breath, opening.
could be. I mean, you got to believe it. You can't.
Sure, because there's an exhale. There's an opening there.
What about
There's
Tiger
also
opens
a
mouth
leg.
as he pounces?
Tigers. Well, here's the thing. So, as a matter of fact, when we make this shape, every time we make a shape like this part of the hand here is called the tiger's mouth.
Mm.
And so, when we make the shape like this is literally like looking through the tiger's mouth, looking through the open tiger's mouth. The tiger's mouth is open here.
Mm.
This one we have here, this is the lion's mouth. So the lion's mouth is open, right?
Mm.
Open.
But when we do the opening of the heart movement and we pick up the jewel, you do that shape. Is that would be the same shape?
Same shape.
Oh, okay. Never realized that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the tiger's mouth again
Yeah.
when we say
It's
jewel or the
it's the same
precious
shape.
stone.
In the heart opening qigong, we sort of don't focus on the aspect that this is the tiger's mouth. If you were going to like get really technical, if you were writing this down, you might say you make the tiger's mouth
Oh,
like that.
okay. Hmm.
But again, just because Chinese language is so contextual, in the opening of the heart, it's a different context. So we're making the diamond of the heart there. Um,
Okay. But
but the
that's all
shape is,
opening. So that's all
it's all
opening.
open. Yes, very good, cool. What else? Other words. Let's throw another one out there.
I was shimmering. I always think it's
Ooh.
like when you wave hands like clouds. It's always something. I don't know what it is. I just think it kind of looks like this shimmering effect because there's always something when you watch people that are really good Tai Chi players. There's something mystical going on with their hands, and
Yeah.
they look like they're shimmering. There's something a little bit more going on, but it's so subtle.
So
Yeah.
what?
When you said that, it made me think of stars, and you know how you have like the shooting stars or whatever. That's what it made me think of when you said
Or,
that. Shimmering, like,
or just like like the moonlight shimmering on water as you just kind of
yeah.
swimming through the water or whatever. I don't know. It
All right.
just
So this is what you want to write down. So this is uh, you went right where I wanted to go. So we say shimmering, and then we have some kind of association with the wave hands like clouds. Great. Like, let's keep on, let's push through that. So now we have a complete picture. The moonlight, so for example, I was just in Hawaii during the full moon, and I was very fortunate, very grateful that they gave me this wonderful room that looked right out over the ocean. And in the middle of the night, I got up, and there is the great big moon reflecting on the water, and here is that shimmering water, and as the clouds pass by, it has this sort of Doppler effect, on the water. So every time the cloud passes by, the moonlight shimmers upon the water. Casting shadows, and then the light reappearing, creating this effect of light then dark, then light then dark.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang. See what you did there? Now, see, that's a multi-sensory kind of. And then if we continue with that vein, by the way, you want to tell a story like that. If I was telling the story, it says, I watched the clouds pass by the face of the moon, causing the shadows to appear on the water. I open up the door of my sliding glass door, and the salt smell enters the room. The warmth of the humid Hawaiian air covers my skin. Right? And so every cloud,
that's good.
I'm enveloped in that salt air, that warmth, the flower smell in the background, and the light changing from light to dark to light, the moon on the water.
Is waft a good word?
Waft is an awesome word. Yes.
As it steers meticulously through the room.
Yes. No, I love it. Okay, that's what I'm going for. Now we're getting somewhere.
Painting mental pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it gets too hot, you can use suffocating, because they're suffocating.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's true, though. There's so many adjectives that I would not think of using, because, we don't think of it. It's a good exercise.
Okay. Well, good. So that's our first exercise, is looking at this. Now you've got this sheet that you now have as a resource. You can continue, and what I would encourage you to do is continue with the movements. If you can go both ways, you can pick a movement and say what words seem to match the picture I could create out of this, or you could pick a word and say what word could I make, or what movement could I make work for this word, right? And continue to like tell these kinds of stories. Now our next exercise is going to go into emotional states and sort of gut feelings more than tactile feelings. And so for that, we're going to turn to the wheel of emotions. And again, I didn't pick it so much because I thought it was brilliant, although I might come to that conclusion. I don't know yet. But it like this is a pretty good list. And like what I'm noticing about this list is how many sort of dark words there are in here.
Yeah.
Right?
Really? That's what I'm thinking. My goodness. Whoa.
Loathing. Oh, that's it. Right? Those are great words. Because they're strong emotions. All right, so I don't have a printed copy of this, so I'm going to let you guys sit with it while I jump up. Oops. I just remembered something there. Whenever I go to screen share, you guys disappear from the recording. So I'm going to jump into the studio space over there, and you can throw some emotions at me.
Oh, this'll be fun. All right.
All right. So let's start with another movement. So we've
Why don't
got,
we start with the emotion?
you want to start with the emotion? All right then.
Sure. You can just see what comes up with the emotion. Oops, I just lost my email now. Oh. Okay, what did we have? All right. Surprise.
Surprise. Okay, so
What does surprise look
First word. It's like
First-
great.
Sounds like.
like?
and so there's a what do you get when you're surprised? You sort of you get a reveal, right? I you know, I
So
open
that's like Jack in the Box there?
something like that.
Ladyworks shuffle.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, I know what the movement is, but I was just trying to think of something that it made me think of.
So there's so we might say something like, you know, walking through the forest, the moonlight up above, but it's dark and is covered by the trees, covered by the branches of the trees, until suddenly a wind comes up, lifts the branches of the trees, and what do I find standing in front of me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What is it?
Let's throw in fear.
It's pestilence.
Yes.
And you're ducking, right?
And you-
Under your arm. Oh.
See, you could make that work. But the idea is like I don't like you. So surprise has to have some suspense in it. So as
Yeah.
you're setting up this cue, you know, I roll it back. I duck under the branches. I wait, and then the wind comes up, and what happens is I reach through. Oh, something's there. A giant spider, or the lady of the lake. You know. So if you're talking about emotions, you have to get a little theatrical.
Mm.
You say, so I was walking in the woods and I was very surprised when I saw this. Unless, of course, you're British. Then it, you know.
Then that works.
We were extremely surprised at the fact that we were all sinking in the quicksand. And then we had a spot of tea just to, you know. But for all us North Americans, it's like, surprise, there's, oh, what was it? I don't know. Open up and reach through. Right? Fearful. I don't know. Is it safe? My skin is all on goosebumps. This hair on the back of my neck. I turn, step to look the other way, not knowing whether I'm looking in the right direction or the wrong direction. I don't know.
Love it.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Right?
very much so. Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be logical. But what you get is you like suddenly, I did it, didn't you? You were taken away for a second. Right? That's the point. You're the ones who will do this, and I know that you can because I've listened to you before. And Matthew, you're going to be excellent at this.
I'm a thespian.
You're a thespian. So as you do that, you know, people suddenly stop thinking about, like, they forget that this is Tai Chi. Like I don't even like. Oh, that's right. I was doing Tai Chi. Oh. I was so into the story. And that's when you get into rhythmic entrainment. That's when you look all of a sudden and everybody is like doing the same thing at the same moment and they're all wrapped up in your story. Very nice. Cool. All right, so we've picked an emotion and then matched some movement to it. Let me pick a movement or a posture and see what you guys can evoke or what emotion it evokes for you. Let's do this one.
Sorrow.
Sorrow. Ah, tell me more.
I was just thinking it's like someone passing and they're draping and dressing the body. I know it's a little macabre, but there's just something about that movement. It's not a happy movement. It's like not like as I closing the door, I always think like like this is a really joyous movement. It seems like a much more deeper contemplative type of movement that could convey sorrow, sadness. I don't know.
That is so funny to
Interesting.
say that because my mom, when her mom passed away, the week before she passed away, she was explaining to me that she went to visit her and she took her coat and lay it on her couch. Just the same movement that David was doing. Yeah. And she laid it on the couch. And, and after that, that same night is the night that she died. But my mom remembers that move.
But that's your story, though.
Saw her mother, my grandma. Isn't that weird? And you say that.
But that is your story, right?
But then that triggered that story for you, right? Yeah.
That's so strange. Yeah, because I didn't think of sorrow when I saw that, but now that you say that, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it does have that kind of.
Now I think
now that I know the story because I know the story.
Now
It's
I
funny.
think of nurturing when I do that movement.
Oh yeah, I could see. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And Matthew, I'll bet, well, maybe all of you can relate to this. When the last thing I do every night before I go to bed is go in and retuck all the kids into their beds.
Yeah.
Yeah, tucking the,
Smooth out the blankets, make sure that they're all in there.
Yeah.
Reach down.
yeah.
Take
Oh, you
the
get me all
stuffed
misty
toy.
eyed now. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that version better,
No, it's not one is better than the other. Not one is.
No, but I mean, it's just not as sad.
Well, so
No,
here's
but
the
it
thing.
really it evokes for me. It evokes an emotion, and I get all kind of choked up because I think about my kids, and it's that whole very.
Yeah.
I do that every night, exactly like that. I smooth out the sheets, make sure it's tucked in because I don't want them to be, uncovered through the course of the night. So I can envision that the meticulousness of drawing the sheets.
Could be making the bed also in the morning. When you make
Because you never just do it once. You're-
yeah.
As soon as you get one part moved, then they kick out one leg, and then you,
yeah.
So, but I want to encourage you guys not to be afraid of a dark emotion, because dark emotions. Well, I'm labeling it now, and that's just because I don't have better words for
Yeah,
it.
they're there.
But
They're real.
they are powerful, and the point about using those emotions is in their evocative nature.
Yeah.
Right? So much better to utilize a script that contains this kind of strong, powerful, evocative emotion than an emotion that may be happier but not as dynamic.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because the intention, so we're telling stories, but the storytelling is a tool. The storytelling is a bridge to the state that we're trying to get to, and that is the state of deep flow or rhythmic entrainment. So we're using them as tools to get there. I'm coming back in. So is this starting to make sense?
Oh, very much so.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you imagine how you might use it? So trying to think of ways that you might use it in your own classes.
As a weapon to take over the world.
And I'm glad to have given you.
He done this to me.
Any questions or random thoughts that have come up now?
Oh, it's endless. I mean, you could go on, pick any one of these and trying to match it with a move or do it the other way around. I mean, it's endless stories. It's cool to think of it that way.
Précisément.
A lot more work there, but yeah, cool.
It is a little bit more.
It's more work because for me, it's a lot easier to just explain, this is what we're doing or this is where we're going. That's the move.
That's right. The thing about it, Claire, is that is easier for most people. There are some people who are very, right-brained people who speak in this kind of poetry just very naturally, but just statistically they are rarer, and so most people. And by the way, this is also given very much to native English language speakers. Because our language is so, cause and effect, linear, mechanical. So people who speak English have a difficult time being non-linear and non-logical and non-verbal. So now that you start to see the endless nature of this and you say it is a little bit more work, but hopefully it will be less work now that you have some tools and some examples of how this works.
Remember when we first started, I remember I asked this of you. I said, wouldn't it be great to have an index of moves with different, images for it? I remember I asked of that.
Yes. You see, I listen.
Hey, very good. A year later or so, but it's okay. No, but
well, that's...
I saw people teaching different ways, and I thought, this is interesting. They're using this imagery. I like that. How am I going to remember this? And of course, I don't, right? I mean, some of it I do, but I can't remember it all. So I thought it would be nice to have that down somewhere. But I guess, we just have to make our own.
So and I know that this is not natural to everybody, but, I've got lots of these. Right. And that's what I do with them is I start to write down scripts and write down phrases and things like this so that they become a resource for you. And someday if you might start teaching other people to teach Tai Chi or Tai Chi Vit, then you can pass this along to them and say, so here's a resource that they can expand on. But what I really encourage you is to not assume that, now it's just going to come out better. You've got to write these things down. Because if we get best at what we practice most, you haven't practiced it enough yet to be really good at it. You are still over-indexed on the mechanics.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so this is your rehearsal. This is your practice. Coming in and doing a couple, like I can give you the entire choreography of the 8 form or the 24 form. I'll give it all to you right now. Psst, there you are. It's written down. I've got pictures of it. And you could follow it and you could do it a couple of times. Does not mean that you're any damn good at it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
10,000 times later, you'll be awesome. So I would, and I don't give homework, so because I don't care, right? But this is a valuable kind of practice, is to write these things down and make some scripts for the, and I would just start with the 5 basic combinations that we learn in the beginner's repertoire. They're all in your manual. And then, but also, in fact, we might someday add to the manual a script for each on of
Yeah.
this. That would be good. Just thought of that. Because what's already in your manual is the mechanics, is the biomechanical
Yeah.
breakdown of every movement.
Mm.
Okay, so we can move on, and then we might even be done somewhat early. Maybe. I don't know. One final exercise, and that is an exercise in nonverbal or non-logical cueing. Right?
You use that all the time. now.
All the time. All the time.
Ha!
Yes.
Yeah. Just sighing.
That's one of my favorite ones. And here's the thing. So what you should tuck away in your brain is that every time I do that, I'm usually responding to something that I've been observing. So I'm really reactive in my classes more so than active. You know, once I've done syncing the chi, then a lot of what rolls out after that, it happens because of what I'm already observing, like that early.
Mhm.
And so then my cueing takes on the nature of I'm responding to the flow state that I'm observing in people. And so when I do, I'm choosing the moment. So here's some of the things that we can just talk about in terms of and for this one, let me get you guys to stand up with me, and we'll do a little. You can mimic this a little bit. Just get it into your body a little bit. So one of the most obvious parts of nonverbal cueing is pointing. Right. So using the finger or a hand or something like this to point in the direction of where the action is either coming from or going to. Most typically where it's going to, because you're trying to get people to not anticipate, but not get lost, so that you're moving and they're like, what do you do? Right. So I'm here. I'm like, right. So do this with me. We'll just start like we're doing brush knee. Okay. Now you know where your open side is, so you've got to pick the time when you're going to point. Now here's the thing about that. So there is a timing that you've got to pay attention to, because if I'm like, I'm here, point, then I go, like that's too short. So I've got to get out in front of it enough so that, you know, I can get in there. Does that make sense? But I also wanted to maintain sort of the rhythm of the motion here. So I'm establishing a tempo, I'm establishing a synchronization, and what I want to do is use that same motion so that it doesn't disrupt the flow of my movements, right? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I want to be far enough back so that I can be in the rhythm of the movement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So here's how I do that. Now, this again comes from just lots and lots of years of cueing to music in classes that were intended to be rhythmic. Like I taught ballroom dance for a while, and have been in the fitness industry forever. So I taught lots of fitness classes to music, and so in my head there's always an 8 count going on. I just hear a natural 8 count even when there's no music. And when you're cueing using a natural 8 count, you want to be at least 1 8 count in advance of the music of the action.
Mm.
Right? Does that make sense? So that's like 5 seconds. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. right? So I want to step out here, 5 seconds before that, I got to point so that then I've got that space.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, what else can you imagine is a nonverbal body-oriented cue?
Looking.
Looking. Excellent. Right? People know what that means. But again, you've got to be big about, you can't be subtle. Right? So I'm coming down here, right? I'm turning my head as part of the movement. If I look in the same way, people are going to like, oh, he's just looking again. So I've got to go.
Okay.
Right?
And sometimes when I break routine, I flutter my fingers.
Nice. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Call attention to this. I'll do this a lot, like in Grassbird's Tail, then I'll go this one. Right.
You ever snap, or is that too abrupt?
So I rarely say never about things. That's a great question. You have to ask yourself, again, so this is another one of those things that I say all the time, but Matthew hasn't heard them ad nauseum yet. And that is that the answer to every question, no matter what the question about this is, the answer to every single question is, how does it affect flow?
Right.
Right? So you say, how about that? I don't know. In certain situations, it might really enhance flow.
Okay.
On the other hand, certain situations, people are like,
Yeah.
Only you know at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do all the time is I'll try it and go, oh, that didn't work. Oops. Okay. What else? What are the ways that we could use the body? So
Turning, stepping,
say that again.
turning your body, or stepping, or
Repeating portions of a movement, right, with your body. So, for example, if I'm going to step out here,
Okay.
does that make sense?
yeah, it's very similar to leading in dance.
Yes.
Very much.
And because it's nonverbal, I find sometimes people pay more attention because they're trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'd be based on your teaching style too, but if you, I guess if you had all of them in your disposal, it'd be really great, but depends on the type of person you are. I guess maybe if you're not a chatty Cathy, you got to be really good at the pantomime and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really, there's a lot of tools at your disposal. I don't know if you have to master all of them. I don't know. DDR looks like he's got them all in it, but 40 years I don't have.
There's still ones that I still learn. A lot of the nonverbal cueing stuff that I start to use now, I didn't learn it first, but I really appreciated how masterful Zumba instructors, high-level Zumba instructors are. They started out doing almost all the cueing non-verbally because Beto didn't speak English. So, everything was big and nonverbal and pointing and, over the top, literally over the top. All right, so here is my favorite method of non-logical, non-verbal cueing, and that is making sounds. Right? So, let's make up some sounds. So what does this movement sound like? Really? Is that what it sounds like to you?
Foom, foom.
Okay. See, that's more real there, brother.
Yeah.
You know, this is too easy. Like, really? Come on. My 9-year-old could do better. But foom, foom. I like that. That's real, right?
Yeah.
Right? Excellent. Now, how about this one?
It's like,
Yeah, but that's perfect.
Right?
It's perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is your homework.
I couldn't see you because you were so quiet. My screen disappeared on me there.
just playing the pipa, so I don't know.
But DTR, you also laugh and shake your head to the music and chill everyone out by doing that, because they get me uptight, trying to follow.
But you're modeling the behavior. That you're trying to model the tone of the room. And if you're nervous and uptight, 9 times out of 10, the rest of the room is going to be nervous and uptight. So there's such a high level of performance to this, and I would see that as a great add-on to instructorship. Is a lot of people are so up in their heads that they couldn't even step out in front of a room and maybe do the performance piece, as you said, because the way that they're thinking, they would just go through the mechanical steps, and they themselves would have to be over all their fear and their baloney in their head to be able to really just go out there and do the job effectively and be okay with making an ass out of yourself and allow that performance side to come out. And that's really, this is what I see this as. I mean, this is like doing an acting class, and most people don't have that ability to express themselves, or if they do, their little egos won't allow them to do it. So I wonder how many people could actually go through all these different levels and really stand up in front of a class and lead it effectively and not be so worried about what everybody thinks, you know? So this is a craft, man. Like,
that's where the practice kicks in, because the more you do it, you just do it, and then sometimes you make an ass, and sometimes it works out, and other days it doesn't, and you say, oh, today wasn't so good, tomorrow, well, that was better, whatever. You just do it. You just go out there and do it, and it does what it does. And I think, and I'm just starting, so I can, I can just see that after so many years, it's like anything else.
But the answer is still the same, regardless, and that is that the solution. So here's my philosophy about people who are uptight or not uptight, or good actors or over the top or whatever, is that we are all extraordinarily good actors at age 7. Right? Like every one of us a little Academy Award winner, right? And so
that's true.
So that's inherent. That's not something that you need to teach. And so what is it that you get out of practice is not putting in some acting ability, but rather getting rid of the constraint that keeps it coming. And so the solution to that is yourself getting in flow. Like, dude, there's plenty of mornings when I get up and it's like, oh God, it's like 4 o'clock came so freaking early this morning. I'm like, and I get into the flow, and halfway through the class, it's like, okay, now I'm feeling it. Now and suddenly something I say is funny, or something I say is yummy, and why? Because I'm in the flow with you as much as you're in the flow with me. That's rhythmic entrainment.
And
you're
there's flavor to it. Like, sorry, go ahead.
But you're leading the flow. The flow starts with you, as opposed to you being. There I am taking care of the class again. You being sensitive to what's going on. They follow your mood.
Right. You have a role to play, and
Right.
part of the role that you play um, is initiating the sequence of actions. But here's the thing, and this is what we're trying to get to, Sharon, in the Tai Chi Fit Connect exercises that we do in the Sunday class, especially. That we get to a point where if you get out of your head, get out of your ego, get out of your like trying to control it, something will spontaneously arise in the motion, and then you begin to follow it rather than lead it. Right? 50% of the motion in at least 50%, maybe even more than 50%. 50% of the, but let's imagine 50% of the motion in your classical Tai Chi Chuan is following, not leading, is reacting, not acting. Right? All this motion here, this is following something. That's what that movement represents. And so, you know, when you say I'm leading the class, the best classes, the classes where we really, like as a group, go, wow, that was really good. That was something special about that class. I do the least amount of leading.
Mm.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And by saying that, let me be clear, it doesn't mean that I am following somebody else in the group. Like I'm not trying to like let the group lead either. But you know, I have initiated a cascade of chi action, and then I follow that rather than try to lead it. Then something will occur to me. It's like, okay, this is the perfect time for brush knee. Okay, this, like right here, I'm just feeling, you know, the monk flares his cape over the oh, there it is. And for me, like a big, huge portion of that is the music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I listen to the music, and the music is like, oh, Marvin.
Mm-hmm. True.
So I said I'd never give homework, but let me invite you to make up more noises. Take a look at your movements and make up some sounds. What is open the door sound like? What is you know, and like get away from the obvious. What does a tiger sound like if it wasn't roar? You know, what other noise would come out?
Meow. He's a flamboyant tiger.
There you go. Meow.
Meow, meow, meow. An aristocrat tiger.
There you go. Yes.
Meow. So, have you ever like tried something and it just fell flat and shit the bed, and then like people were kind of lost and you just kind of lost it? What did you have to do to kind of get things back up and going?
The answer to the first part is yeah, like constantly, because I'm always trying to push the envelope. You know, I'm experimenting. You know, always. So the thing about experimenting is that there's a lot of falling flat there. The reconnect is well, there's more than one way of doing this, but the simplest, most direct one is the breath.
Mm.
Right? The breath is always the most direct access to getting back into a flow state.
Okay.
So in your basic training, you learn this transition. Hug the tree, sink the chi.
Yeah.
Right? So with that comes the big sigh at the same time. So I was like, whatever, like, okay, that didn't clearly work. Hug the tree, bring it back to the sink the job another time. Okay, now maybe even one more of those. Now we're back into something else.
Mm.
And by the way, I do, like if you watch me sometimes, I play with different ways of using the breath. And some of them are really manipulative, right? So one trick, like you're using the breath and people are still not quite, they're like still, like you just want to yell at them, stop fucking thinking. What? Ah. Right? So instead I'll do big sigh, everybody. Come on, big sigh. Breathe in, breathe out. And everybody's like, okay, I've got done my break. And I'm still going. Guaranteed, that will bring people back into a flow state. Because then they'll want to breathe with
It'll
you.
make them laugh, that's for sure.
Yeah, and what are they doing when they're laughing?
Breathing.
Breathing. Right?
And once again, that's random, and it breaks it out of the routine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a totally. You can't do it like too often because then it becomes, left brain again. But if you do it in a random sort of fashion, then it stays, a very right brain kind of technique.
There's another thing that I've seen you do, and it's very subtle, and it's a nonverbal cue, but you do the softening of the body, and it's so subtle, but I don't know how to explain it. Like your body will look like there's some tension, and then also the body will just suddenly drop and relax. And that, for me, when I've seen you do that, I think about my own self and drop my shoulders a bit, relax a little bit. But it's so subtle. It's like you put this softness into your body. And I don't know if that's something you're doing intentionally, but it is so subtle. And I've watched you for 20 some years. And even when I was doing the Qigong, when you're doing the 8 pieces of brocade, there's that little thing, it's like this little thing you do with your head where you're sinking down, you kind of do this little. I don't know.
I suddenly become Indian for just a moment.
Yeah, but it's
Oh my gosh, my golly.
It's a little soft, like, I'm squeezing a little bit more out, but it's so subtle.
Well, so what it is, that's a really, really good observation there. I am constantly re-cueing myself to do body scan. Right, and so I'm always body scanning, and when I notice something, then I'll try to address it there. And when it becomes like something that I observe in the group, because the group will begin to mirror each other in a very interesting way. So you say, it's not just me. That's that, because there's times when my attention is my own, and there's times I'm like, oh no, it's the whole group. We're all like, everybody's got that thing in their neck. All right, so we're all gonna go. Right. All right. Well, look at that. We actually used up.
Dodo.
I know.
Dodo.
Claire, it's time for bed. Yeah.
11.
Hey.
Let me say thank you guys very much for your time
Thank
and
you.
attention.
Oh, well, thank you.
It was a real privilege to be able to share some of this with you.
This is awesome. This was really, really awesome.
And fun.
Yeah, that was great. It's been fun to have a small group like this too. We can interact a lot more together.
Cool.
I agree.
If questions come up or thoughts come up after the fact, email me or catch me in class. We can talk about it again.
Don't email. Don't email.
Yeah, okay. Claire's right.
Don't email.
Yeah.
Don't say that anymore.
So catch me in class.
Don't email.
Yeah. I'm becoming a teenager. You can text me. You can message me.
Let me know when you find that fire fusion.
Oh my God, I don't know where it is. Like I'm getting scared. I went back through like all these my hard drive and everything. It's like I don't have.
Is it another Chain Fist story? Where
I'm beginning to get scared. Like it's got to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere.
Okay, well.
I found a bunch of other stuff that I didn't even know I had, but I didn't find the fire. Good Lord. All right, let's get on out of here. Have a great night.
Thank
And
you
I'll
very
see you
much.
guys. I'll see you guys on Friday.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.